Your lungs are burning. According to doctors, a modern human can't survive here for more than a few days. Because at this summit, even breathing is a challenge thrown at nature. You are 4,000 meters above sea level. This is the place where life ends, where only wind and silence reign, the heart of the Andes. And what you're about to hear might make you think human history could have been written completely wrong. Nothing grows here, no trees, and even oxygen is a luxury. But right in front of you stands an impossible sight. Stones weighing thousands of tons are locked into one another with millimetric perfection. The hardest rocks on Earth have been carved with channels as thin as a piece of paper. Right now, you're not looking at a city, you're looking at an anomaly. This is the story of Tiwanaku. Enjoy. History books say this place was founded by a simple farming society. They'll tell you about Stone Age tools, bronze chisels, and thousands of slaves. That's what the official narrative says. But it can't even answer these three simple questions. Why here? Why at this altitude? Why with this precision? Why did they build history's most complex engineering marvel on a summit where living is biologically impossible? This video won't tell you who built it, because that isn't the real question. The real question is, why? Today, leave the history you think you know outside the door, because the truth echoing between Tiwanaku's stones will shake not only your past, but also your trust in the future. Are you ready? Because history falls silent here. When the Andes' harsh wind slams into your face, the only thing you feel is loneliness. The sky is so close you think you can hear the stars whisper. Tiwanaku rises in the middle of that cosmic solitude. This isn't a city, it looks like a massive machine. As you approach Pumapunku, your logic collapses. You see the blocks lying on the ground. These aren't ordinary stones. Among the hardest rock types in nature to work with, andesite and granite. This cannot be done by a trembling human hand. A single 100-ton block looks as if it was sliced by a laser, like cutting butter. If the findings are true, it means humanity lost technology far earlier than we think. The interlocking H-blocks have a quality that is difficult to achieve even with today's most advanced machines. So where did these massive blocks come from? The nearest quarry is kilometers away and thousands of meters below. No wheel, no steel, no crane. Yet 130-ton blocks were brought up a steep slope above the clouds. And this is where the detail that disturbs scientists the most appears. On some of Tiwanaku's stones, cutting marks were found that can't be explained by natural erosion. These marks resemble modern cutting techniques to a surprising degree. If that's true, Tiwanaku may not just be a city, but the grave of a lost technology. And this isn't only an engineering problem. It's a clue that human history may have been written incompletely. Here, the story darkens. Because the problem isn't transporting the stones, it's where that knowledge came from. When you look at the Gate of the Sun, you see a mysterious figure on it, Viracocha, a god holding staffs with tears flowing. The calendar around him doesn't fit any time system we know. According to scientists, this place was founded around 1500 BC, but some astronomical alignments shake that theory. They say it points to 12,000 years ago, toward the end of the last ice age. Wait a second. If this place is 12,000 years old, then engineering existed before writing. Calendar knowledge existed before farming societies. If that's true, the entire chronology of human history must be torn up like a sheet of paper. What's truly terrifying isn't how the stones were cut, it's the silence hidden between those stones. The people of Tiwanaku used massive furnaces to melt metals. They cast metal clamps to bind the stones together. This shows they had complex metallurgical knowledge long before the Bronze Age. So where did that knowledge come from? Did it emerge on its own? Or was it the legacy of a forgotten civilization? History can't say anything for certain here. It guesses. But evidence doesn't lie. It seems Tiwanaku was not the birth of a civilization. It was the last fortress of something much bigger, much older. But that isn't the real question. How the stones were moved is an engineering problem. What truly shakes the human soul is how this city ended. Why does a city usually disappear? An army comes and burns it down. Or an epidemic begins, the streets fill with bodies. Maybe a great earthquake levels everything. In Tiwanaku, none of that happened. Archaeological excavations show us this. The city was neither conquered nor burned. The houses, temples, and those massive gates, all were abandoned one day, suddenly. As if one morning, tens of thousands of people left everything behind and walked away without even looking back. Half-finished statues were found, blocks taken from the quarry but never delivered to their place. Those precise cuts left unfinished by master hands. Why? The most popular theory is that a major drought dried up water sources. The waters of Lake Titicaca receded, agriculture ended, and the people starved. But pause for a moment and think. These people had quite advanced engineering. They brought water from kilometers away through canals. They controlled the climate. Could they really have abandoned a 1,000-year-old capital because of a little thirst? No. This wasn't a migration. This was a civilization consciously stepping off the stage. The city's complex water systems were examined, and a chilling detail was noticed. The canals weren't only designed to bring water in, they were also designed to carry water out of the city. But in the final period, these canals appear to have been deliberately clogged, as if what made the city unlivable wasn't nature, but the city's owners themselves. This wasn't locking the door of a house, it was breaking the key. Why would a civilization sabotage its own home? Why would it choose to leave everything it owned behind and vanish into the wilderness? Maybe Tiwanaku wasn't a city. Maybe it was a prison or a refuge, and that refuge could no longer protect them. So they sealed it so no one else could ever use it again. What could make you give up your home and all your technology? What could be so terrifying that it would drive you barefoot into the mountains? The answer isn't in the stones, but in why they fell silent. Today we feel safe in our concrete towers. The people of Tiwanaku felt the same, but civilizations always think they are strongest just before they fall. When you go to Pumapunku today, you see massive blocks scattered randomly around, as if a giant hand kicked a child's toy castle apart. That scene tells us about human arrogance. We think we have conquered nature. We drill through mountains, we change the course of rivers, but Tiwanaku reminds us, nature is never conquered. It only permits you, for a while, and when that permission ends, neither your engineering nor your gods will save you. The people of Tiwanaku may have understood something we still haven't noticed. Material power, after a point, becomes a burden. As cities grow, people shrink. As control increases, freedom dies. Today we look at Tiwanaku and marvel, how did they do it? Maybe what we should be asking is, what are we forgetting? Which technology can disconnect us from ourselves and from the world this completely? Which power can imprison us on a summit where even breathing is impossible? Tiwanaku isn't a story of the past. Tiwanaku is a dusty, cracked mirror held up to the future of the modern world. The real question is, do you dare to look? Let's return to the beginning of the video, to that freezing cold of the Andes. The scientific world is still trying to solve the mystery of these stones. Some say aliens, some say survivors of the lost continent Atlantis. But there is an option far darker and far more human. Maybe Tiwanaku wasn't the glorious capital of an empire. Maybe it was the last refuge of people fleeing a horrific catastrophe in the lowlands. Maybe that impossible altitude wasn't a choice, but a necessity. Do you remember that weeping god figure on the gate of the sun? Maybe he was mourning the civilization he lost. As humanity, we always want to reach the summit, the tallest buildings, the strongest cities, the strongest armies. Tiwanaku shows us that when you reach the summit, there is nowhere else left to go. You only look down, and you wonder how long the fall will take. Today in Tiwanaku, only the wind speaks, and the stones are silent, as if they're hiding a secret. Maybe Tiwanaku wasn't the peak of a civilization. It was humanity's greatest escape plan. So, if we wanted to escape a catastrophe today, would we still have a summit left to take shelter in? History isn't only the story of the winners. Sometimes it's the final warning left behind by those who vanished in silence.